Let's calculate whether you have a taxable portion of your 529 distribution. Let's say you have a contributions of $18,000 and the current value of your account is $27,000. That means $9,000 of it is earning. The college expenses were $7,000 and the funds for these expenses were $1,500 in gifts, $3,000 in scholarship, and the rest, the $5,000, was in 529 funds. So the total funds were $9,500, which is more than the college expenses of $7,000. In order to figure out how much of the 529 distribution was taxable, you have to reduce the qualified expenses by tax-free aid. So $7,000 in expenses has to be reduced by $3,000 that the beneficiary received in scholarship. So that means $4,000 are the qualified education expenses, which is less than the total 529 distribution. We took out $1,000 more of the 529 funds than we needed. So portion of it will be taxable, not the entire amount, because portion of it is also a return of principal. So let's calculate the taxable amount of the $1,000 of 529 funds that were withdrawn above the qualified expenses. In order to do that, you have to look at your tax form 1099-Q. Box 1 reports gross distribution, and in our example, that was $5,000. Box 2 reports how much of the total taken out was earnings. Box 3 reports how much you contributed to the plan, and that amount is never taxable. That is return of principal. The amount in box 2 is what is taxable if the 529 funds were not used for education expenses. In our case, from the $5,000 that we took out, $4,000 was used to cover qualified education expenses, but $1,000 was not. So to calculate the amount of earnings that is tax-free, you take the amount of qualified expenses and divide it by the gross distribution to find out the ratio, which was 80% in our example. Then you multiply it by total earnings to find out that $400 of that is tax-free. Therefore, to find out taxable amount, you take the earnings of $500 and subtract the tax-free amount of $400 to find out that $100 of your distribution is taxable and will need to be reported on your tax return, specifically Schedule 1, Form 1040, Line 8. One more thing though, is that taxable distributions are also subject to 10% penalty. Thanks so much for watching.